It's time to preview the AFC North here on Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. On today's show, we'll take a dive into the Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and of course the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let you know how we feel about all four teams. And at the end, give my official predictions for how the division is going to play out. Before we get into all of that, I want you guys to chime in the comments below. Who wins the AFC North this year? Is it Baltimore? Is it Cleveland? Is it Cincinnati? Is it Pittsburgh? Give us your thoughts in the comment section right now and let us know who wins this division. Are the Baltimore Ravens the team to beat for a second straight year in the AFC North? Let's dive into the Ravens as we kick off our division preview. And after earning the number one seed in the AFC last year and making a trip to the AFC Championship game for the first time in the Lamar Jackson era, is Baltimore ready to do it again? Are they ready to go make another deep run and hopefully break through this time? Because let's face it, last year felt like a missed opportunity. The Ravens' defense was the best in the league. They held Patrick Mahomes to 17 points in the AFC title game, and they couldn't get the job done. It was a dismal offensive performance as Lamar Jackson really struggled, and I thought overall it was just a really bad game plan from an offensive standpoint. Why did Baltimore have Lamar become a drop-back passer in that game? He threw the ball into bad spots, turned the ball over. Zay Flowers, of course, had that fumble at the goal line, which was punched out by L'Jarius Sneed. But it was still a breakthrough of some sorts as they had yet to get to that level with Lamar, but he still has not played anywhere near the level that he's capable of in the playoffs. I mean, the numbers are what they are, right? In the regular season, he's a mid-60s% guy historically, ton of yards, really good ratio, touchdown, interception, takes care of the ball. This doesn't even include rushing, but as we know in the playoffs, you have to throw the football with success, and it's been ugly. 57% yardage per game is down, 1-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, just not very good. I mean, he's got to play better in these high-profile games in the playoffs. He's won a lot of these high-profile games in the regular season, but he's 2-4 in the postseason, and that's really holding him back right now when you talk about him among the best in the league. Because from a regular season standpoint, he's matched to Patrick Mahomes in MVPs. They each have 2. But in the postseason, Mahomes is 15-3 with 3 Super Bowls. Lamar is 2-4, hasn't even gotten to a Super Bowl. And in the one AFC Championship game, despite his defense doing their part, holding the Chiefs to 17 points, they could not match him as they only scored 10. Now, could Derrick Henry be a guy that helps in that regard? That is his new running mate in the Ravens backfield with Lamar. We've seen him put Tennessee on his back for a couple of playoff runs, including in a playoff run in 2019 to the AFC Championship game when they knocked out Lamar and the number one seed Ravens in the divisional round that year. And we've seen before, Derrick Henry is a guy you can ride in the playoffs. You can give him 25, 30 carries. Now, when it comes down to it, Lamar's going to have to make some plays with his arm especially, but I think Derrick Henry can help. Obviously, the Ravens have had good running attacks, but they have not had a rusher of Henry's caliber with the physicality that he brings, and that translates to the postseason, in my opinion. So I did like that signing quite a bit by Baltimore. And look, I think the defense probably takes a little bit of a step back with Mike Macdonald walking out the door, but this is still an AFC contender. This is a team that, even if you don't think they're quite on the Chiefs level, they're in that next tier of teams capable of making the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Baltimore should be really good. Lost a couple of key pieces on defense. McDonald's gone, but hopefully the offense takes another step forward in year 2 in this system, and Lamar can continue to make strides and hopefully deliver in the playoffs, which he hasn't always done. Are we going to get the bounce-back Bengals this year? Cincinnati, who had a wild year last year, 9-8. Joe Burrow only played in 10 games before having a season-ending wrist injury. He is back in the fold, and that's really going to be what Cincinnati comes down to. because in 4 seasons, he has 2 season-ending injuries. Rookie year, tore his ACL. Last year, had a bad wrist injury that required surgery. And I am a little concerned because, A, 50% of his years, he's ended the season on IR. And B, this wrist issue, it sounds like something that could lurk for a while. Like, he basically can practice 3 days in a row, then he has to take a day off to rest the wrist because it can flare up on him. So if they can manage that, he should be fine, but that is a little bit of a concern for a guy they've invested this much money into. But obviously, when he's been healthy, they've been very, very successful as a team, especially over the last 3 years. Ja'Marr Chase's situation, is that a looming distraction? Maybe, maybe not. As we film this here, depending on when you're watching this, maybe there's a resolution, whether that means a contract or he just has decided he's ready to go. He basically has not practiced because he wants a new deal. Now, with just days until the season opener, if they don't give him a new deal, is he going to play week 1? Zach Taylor seems to think that he will. He kind of overstepped in some comments he made, said, yeah, he's going to be ready to go. And then Chase didn't practice the next couple of days, and he admitted that he probably spoke out of turn a little bit. So that's still an ongoing situation as we film this. Again, depending on when you're watching, that could be resolved. But I got to think he's going to be out there and be with his guy, Joe Burrow. And if that's the case, and if Burrow's healthy, and when they're 27-15 over the last 3 seasons, including a run to the Super Bowl and an AFC Championship game, I really like Cincinnati. Joe Mixon's gone. Couple of pieces changing offensive line-wise, but if they could protect Burrow and he can stay healthy, they're probably going to win 10-plus games because that's what they've done historically since he's been the starter outside of his rookie year. So we'll see if he can hold up this year. That is a legitimate concern. Obviously, Ja'Marr Chase needs to be out there, but if he is, I think this team's going to be pretty good. The defense should be solid as well. Could this be Cleveland's time? The Cleveland Browns, who have never won the AFC North, haven't won a division title since 1989, I believe, are coming off a good year. Made the playoffs. Joe Flacco comes out of the bullpen off the couch and helps lead this team to the postseason. They got smoked down in Houston against C.J. Stroud and company, but it was certainly a good year, especially for Brown standards, won 11 games, and they're very talented. Andrew Berry has loaded this roster. He's been aggressive with trades and free agents and trying to improve this thing. And the most aggressive move he made by far, the issue is that one hasn't paid off up to this point. Is Deshaun Watson cooked? Because they gave him $230 million guaranteed. They just restructured his deal again to keep pushing money down the road. So they're kind of stuck with this guy for at least a couple of years, unless it's just so unbelievably bad this year. They just decide to cut him and just take the dead cap money hit, kind of like the Broncos did with Russell Wilson. But let's face it, we have not seen Deshaun Watson play at a high level for more than a half of football. He played a good half against Baltimore last year, for more than a game, 2 here and there, since 2020. He's only played in 12 games since 2020 because he missed all of 2021. He was suspended most of 2022. Last year in limited action, he wasn't very good. It's been ugly. It's been a tumultuous road for Watson, and the Browns have invested a ridiculous amount of money in this guy, a historic amount in terms of guarantees. And you look at the numbers since 2020, in 12 games played, he's completing less than 60% of his passes. The QB rating's just over 80. He has not been the dynamic playmaking quarterback that we saw for years in Houston. Even his last year in 2020 when they went 4-12, they were kind of a mess of a team. He threw for like 4,800 yards. Like, we have not seen that guy in years. And I've said this before about other quarterbacks, and I'll say again, I've said it about Russ. I feel like it applies here. When you go multiple years at this position without playing at a high level or just not playing, which has been part of the case here, it's hard to get it back. Now, he's only 28 years old, but he just has not looked the part in closer to half a decade than a year at this point, which is kind of crazy to say. So this is a massive year for him. There's no question about it. The Browns have invested around him. They brought in Jerry Jeudy to pair with Amari Cooper. Like, you got to make this work if you're Deshaun Watson this year, because if you don't, I don't know what's going to happen. And a lot's going to be on his shoulders because Nick Chubb is on the PUP list to start this season after that nasty leg injury last year. So he's going to miss at least 4 games. So without Nick Chubb, Watson's going to have to carry more of the load offensively. And I'm not sure he can do that anymore. Like in Houston, he did that a lot. They didn't run the ball much, so they asked him to do everything, and he was able to do it. But we haven't seen that guy again in 3-4 years. Like, is that going to happen this year? Doesn't happen this year. I don't see when it happens. So Jerome Ford, their backup running back, they've got Deontay Foreman. They have some okay, pieces there, but teams are gonna make Watson beat him, I would think. And if he can't, that could spell trouble offensively. Let's get to the Pittsburgh Steelers, new-look Steelers, at least offensively, as they are hoping changes at quarterback and at offensive coordinator with Arthur Smith give them a shot at winning this division. They've obviously done a nice job of staying relevant, staying above 500, being in the playoff mix, wildcard team last year despite bad QB play. So they bring in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Russ wins the job. He is QB1 to start the year. But I watched that competition, close competition, I'm not sure it actually was, and some of those preseason snaps. Neither guy really stood out. I thought Fields did kind of what he did in Chicago. He flashed some signs of greatness and then had some really bad reps too where he's turning down open receivers for whatever reason. So they're going to lean on Russ at least to start, and this just feels messy. Like Russ kind of has a reputation for not being a very likable guy. If he struggles early, you got to think that locker room's going to want Justin Fields, especially some of those young core players offensively who you would think are closer to Fields just based on age and kind of comfortability at this point. Like Russ is, is Hollywood, Sierra, all this stuff. Justin Fields is a pretty chill 25-year-old who I would think could connect to George Pickens better than Russell Wilson. Who knows if that's true or not, but neither's a great option, if we're being completely honest. Both, I think, will play at times this year. Even early on when Russ is the starter, Mike Tomlin said there will be a package for Justin. And I just think you start getting into this 2 QB thing where neither guy is great, but one guy is more of a running threat. If he starts to find success on the few plays he plays, do you play him more? If Russ struggles, do you go to Fields permanently? Like, it's just a messy situation. And I just don't love the vibe around it. And look, the formula has been run the ball and play defense, and I think that's going to continue. Although I think with Arthur Smith, they're hoping to create more chunk plays with play action. They're going to run the ball a lot, which is kind of why I said even if Russ is the safer option, I would have leaned into Fields because maybe you just go into a super power run game with both your running backs, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, plus Fields as a runner. Russ isn't really that good of a runner anymore. He's not that athletic, whereas Fields is like an extra running back there that defenses have to account for. So if Russ struggles early, I would guess they give Fields that opportunity. Sounds like he's going to have a package of plays regardless. So, again, we'll see what that looks like. But I've kind of hinted at this, and I'll just give my take straight up right here. I think the wheels fall off in Pittsburgh this year. Tomlin has had this team overachieving for years, not falling below 500. The last couple of years have been Roethlisberger. His arm was shot. They stayed in the mix. Kenny Pickett couldn't play. They were still in the mix. Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky. I think Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, talent-wise, are better than those guys, but felt like those teams were overachieving. And now it just feels like, are they going to keep winning these 17 to 13 games, week in and week out? It just seems unsustainable in today's NFL. I think Pittsburgh is below 500 this year. I think they go in a new direction at quarterback next year. And I think Tomlin and the team mutually part ways, and he's either coaching somewhere else or he's working for ESPN, CBS, whatever, takes a year off Sean Payton style and reassesses. I don't think Pittsburgh would flat out fire him, but I could see a mutual parting of ways at this point. I thought you could have made the case that should have happened this offseason. All right, so my AFC North predictions. I'm going to go with the Bengals. Bit of a projection. Burrow stays healthy. Chase stuff gets figured out. I like Cincinnati to win the division. Baltimore takes a step back, but is still a playoff team. I just don't trust Deshaun Watson, so I think the Browns kind of hover around 500. Maybe they go 8-9 and miss the playoffs. And then I think Pittsburgh's like a 7-win team. I don't think they're going to be that good. I think the defense will still be good, but eventually even that starts to slip. So that's kind of where I see that playing out. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel here on Verts. We will continue to bang out these division previews, plus cover news and notes on a daily basis. College football coverage as well. Week 1, either here or in the books, depending on when you're watching this. Lots to cover, lots to come up here on Verts. Hit that subscribe button. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys soon.